So welcome to City Arts, thank you very much for coming this evening. This is the first of a series of seminars and debates that we want to present over the coming period about the sort of nature of participatory practice and sort of specific groups within that, but also the general value of the arts and the case for the arts that we all have to make ever more strongly because we know its value, we understand its value, and we need to remind ourselves how to talk about the value to people who put it under threat, I think. So that's a kind of broader context of why we're here. We also have an interloper from the sports community because sports is also quite good to be here, so we've invited Ben as well, so welcome, there's no backing out yet. And also, so the broader context to tonight's event, the reason it's sort of been triggered is that City Arts, in partnership with Cerebral Palsy Sports, is producing the opening and closing ceremonies and the medal ceremonies programme for the World Cerebral Palsy Games that are in Nottingham, which why a few of the panel are maybe looking a bit frazzled. But so we thought this was a sort of perfect backdrop, if you like, to sort of firstly start off these conversations, but also hone in on a particular conversation about disability. And also we have some extraordinary practitioners in the region as a result of that programme. So I'm going to briefly introduce the panel and myself, which I haven't done. So my name's Alison and I work here at City Arts. So I'll briefly introduce the panel and then we'll going to just sort of invite each panel member to give you a sort of synopsis of why they are on the panel. And we have some of the questions posed that were on the flyer that have triggered your interest to come into the room. So we're going to just touch on those as a panel. But then we'll also open it up to the floor because I'm sure that we have as much expertise on this side of the hot lights as we do on that side. So if I let you know what I do, first of all, I'm one of the creative programme officers here at City Arts. Have quite a wide range of delivery sort of practice. I shall carry on so we can let people pop in. Do come in. Glass of wine at the back if that's...
Put it across.
Yeah, so as I was saying, my name's Alison and I work here at City Arts and I'm one of the creative programme officers. I look a lot at productions and how we can create work that integrates lots of different people into an exciting event. An example being the CP Sports event, which is folding in various community groups, disability groups, mainstream groups who are working together with artists, experts in their fields to create an event that is more than some of its parts. It can only exist because of that integrated approach. So that's the sort of work that I do alongside a lot of the other more developmental work, more focused work that City Arts as a whole does. So I will briefly introduce you to everyone and then pass you over. So everybody's to my left, conveniently. We have Jamie Beddard, who is an actor and director and who's also directing our ceremonies programme for CP Sports. So thank you for that, Jamie. We've got Michelle Taylor, who is a disability trainer and consultant and who's also a member of our board. We have John Bevan, who works in the county for County Youth Arts and who's a specialist in developing programmes with hard-to-reach and disabled young people. We have Paul Russ, who's from Dance 4, and Dance 4 have a special interest in developing youth opportunities for young disabled dancers, amongst a range of other things that they do. And finally, as I said, we have Ben Rossi, who's part of Cerebral Palsy Sports and part of the senior management team for the World Games. So welcome, thank you very much. And Jamie, I'll pass this to you.
Hello, what's Steve? Why am I here? I got asked to be, no, I did. Like anything that I've been open,  'cause the opening and closing. And I was with loads of different people. I've been able with I've got people who've been working to put that together. And on Saturday and Sunday we're miraculously going to bring it all together to create something amazing. And it's been brilliant with professional artists, participatory artists, and I guess the work I do is about bringing professional and participatory art together, and that's what I'm interested in. But they're all succeeding is different, but particularly among disabled people, the participatory work is the root into professional work that I'm really interested in bringing them together. I'm an actor director. I've got a very grand career path that's come here at the moment. Nottingham, but blah blah blah.
Blah. I'm Michelle Taylor, as Alison has said, and I'm a disability and arts and culture trainer and consultant. I've been based in Nottingham for nearly 30 years, working in the arts of disability. I'm also a practitioner, I'm a writer and director and performer, and most of the performing that I do these days is stand-up comedy, and as a visibly disabled person, I think that's no accident, and I think that's quite interesting in terms of the aesthetic of disability and the arts, and what it is that disabled and deaf people bring to the arts, as well as being done unto and done with.
Hi, I'm John Bevan. I devise and manage art projects for young people right across the county. I work with approximately 2,000 young people a year, work right across every art form. Also based in the Old Library in Mansfield, which is a theatre, recording studio, Max Suite, workshop spaces. We also devise and manage events and sharing opportunities for young people as well, so they can actually share the art that they produced. Right through my career, right from the start, about 22 years, I've always been involved in developing exciting arts projects for disabled, working with disabled young people. So I guess that's why I'm here.
Jamie, you stole my line about I was invited, so that's the reason I'm here. But so yes, I'm Paul from Dance 4. Another role that I have in the city is that I'm actually a governor of Oakfield School, a special education school in the city. So I just thought that's also an important factor in you knowing what I do here. So Dance 4 is an organisation that hopefully many of you will know as is one of the original national dance agencies set up in the early 90s to in effect create opportunity for artists and the community to connect through the making, presenting and sharing of dance as a kind of an amazing art form. And very much Dance 4 has carved a voice in dance as an organisation that has explored the territories of the edges of the art form and been a kind of provocateur really, locally and across the country and beyond, about really what dance can and is. And as part of that suite of work that we do, we're fortunate to also run a Centre for Advanced Training, which supports children and young people between the ages of 11 and 18 to undertake professional level, professional quality of training here in the region. And when we were setting that up 6 years ago, there were many workshops that we delivered for disabled young people as part of the recruitment, but no disabled young people presented themselves as potential students through audition. And that was a massive concern to us. So we embarked on trying to understand why that was the case. And so quite a lot of what we uncovered, I hope, will reveal itself in the conversation this evening. But really, what's interesting me, and the reason why it's great to be here this evening, is that I just feel that the language and the fear that seems to exist around a conversation around disability has to shift. And so I'm interested in having that conversation with us tonight.
Good evening, my name is Ben Rossi. I am the Fundraising and Business Development Manager for Cerebral Palsy Sport. Brief history of our organisation. We actually became a charity in 2001. We came out of scope when the individuals looking after the sports within scope felt that not enough profile was given to sport and opportunities for people with disabilities. And it's good that I think the Games has triggered something like this, a debate about disability and what as a charity, we don't look at the disability, we look at the ability. And that's what we do through sport. We give children, young people and adults with cerebral palsy and other physical disabilities opportunities to use sport as a way to integrate into the community, overcome barriers that they feel are there, and we work with them and their families to give them more opportunities. The Games itself is a wonderful opportunity to showcase that, but obviously we're all aware of London 2012 and the Commonwealth Games in 2014 and the part that art and creativity played in the opening and closing ceremonies, and we as a charity felt that we should do what we can to open that up and use these games as an opportunity to do that as well. And thanks to the partnership with City Arts Dance for the City Council, we submitted a successful Arts Council bid, and hopefully on Sunday evening we'll be able to demonstrate what people can with cerebral palsy can do creatively as well.
I'll be the microphone runner now between the group. So when we were sort of just touching base earlier, we sort of reminded ourselves that actually in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 27, it's the right to participate in the cultural life of the community. So that is the right of all people to participate in the cultural life of the community. So our first question to the panel, which obviously store your thoughts up because we will come to the floor later. Our first question was, can art really make a difference to disabled people's lives? But then we also were thinking, more broadly, is how art makes a difference to people's lives. But in this context, we're discussing disability. So I don't know if anyone on the panel wanted to leap in or whether we just methodically work our way down again.
I mean, I can be reminded clearly we all know art makes an incredible difference to people of your disabled and non-disabled. When I was younger and disabled, the arts were never on my radar, and I completely accidentally got a phone call by no disabled actors they could get hold of, and they rang me, this film company, said, "We want to meet you, you're the only disabled person we can find." And which is all a bit bizarre, but anyway, I got the job, and suddenly I was on the film set going, blimey, this is brilliant. And that was literally my route into the art. It was completely by accident, and it was never on my radar. And that was many years ago. But the art has got to be on everyone's radar. There's got to be the quality of opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's just watching young people develop through the course of a project and seeing them, for example, some people starting at the beginning of a project and they won't talk to anybody, they maybe sit in a corner, not communicating to the rest of the group, but gradually developing through the project to participating, to then, for example, in dance, maybe moving much more freely, starting off being very hesitant and moving much more freely, but then also starting to communicate, develop ideas and actually make their ideas heard, and learning to work as part of a team. It's all those social skills and interpersonal skills that they develop. It's just massive watching that journey for young people from the beginning to where they're really flourishing and fully expressing themselves. It just, personal development for young people of being part of an art project and seeing that through and having time to develop, I think is really important. And you do see massive changes. It really does change people's lives.
I'm cautious. I don't want to pull that too hard, otherwise I might break it. But for us, obviously, our focus is in sport. So if I talk about sport, I think you can confidently sort of like transpose the word art when I talk about sport, because it is all about participation for us. It's about children and young people participating with their peers on an equal level. When we go out and about and deliver activities, children come up to us and talk to us, and we get comments from parents saying little Johnny would never have done that before in his school environment. Here he's included. He's not sitting on he's not sitting on the sidelines. He's actively participating, and for us, that's what it's all about. We know that in schools, mainstream schools, that some of them use PE time as a time when children with CP go off and have their physio. They don't actively participate. They're always being shoved to the sidelines. They're obviously they're doing something else. So it's a way of participation. It's a way of inclusion, not feeling isolated. And art can do that. I believe whether it's an artistic project or whether it's a sporting project, the participation opportunities are there. And it staggers me in this current day and age that children and young people are still being shoved to the sidelines, and it's not, their disability shouldn't be a barrier, and we feel that people who are delivering those opportunities, they need to adapt the way they teach, adapt the way they coach, adapt the way they include people in activities, as opposed to people with disabilities having just to miss out or having to adapt because others can't adapt to them.
So I think what's interesting for me is that I work with so many people who have similar roles to the one I do, and I'm often quite staggered by a level of ignorance and fear that exists within them. And so what that does for me is it kind of limits the opportunity for their work and the impact of their work to play out for their local communities, whoever those local communities are. And because what I see in an engagement with disability arts or with disabled people is the possibility, really. So for dance, I think there's an extraordinary possibility for the variety of body and perspective that exists by engaging with society as a whole. And when we're in the business of testing the boundaries of what art can be, it's important to then play everything into that and not restrict ourselves with a particular kind of participant or particular kind of tool and perspective. And so that's why I feel that I'm spending a lot of my time prodding people and being rather annoying about a particular issue. Now, whether actually the work that we produce has an impact for disabled people directly, I don't really know, but ultimately I think in the designing of an approach and conversations, the openness and the possibility has to be present for anyone, and I think that for me feels a better starting point than trying to engineer something for lots of different people.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, and I think the question is framed in an interesting way, and I kind of want to, whilst absolutely agreeing with what others have said, also push us to think about, I actually want disabled and deaf people to have the possibility of taking part in an arts activity and going, well, that was rubbish. That hasn't changed me. Whatever, what should I do now? It's like, this is actually a question of having choice and of there being opportunities that are open to disabled and deaf people as well as they are open. And as Paul has kind of intimated, that means changing the way we do things, which is brilliant, because the flip side of that is that this isn't just about, and I'm in danger of quoting some, ask not what the arts can do for you, ask what you can do for the arts. It's about actually the arts, participatory arts, all sorts of arts, suffer if disabled people are not involved, I think, because the arts needs people and the unique contributions that everybody can bring. And I think that's really exciting, and rather than being seen as a box that organisations and companies and individuals have to tick, it's about another opportunity to challenge the way we do things. It's exciting. It's not worthy, it's certainly not therapy, it's really exciting, I think.
Thank you very much to the panel. So our other questions sort of roll into themselves a little bit around, and I suppose are around the current climate and sort of, to some extent I've been touched on, I think, a little bit, but so if we're asking, are disability arts worth fighting for? And in the current economic climate, with the cuts to so much services and benefits, does the arts still have a role to play? Does the arts and sports actually still have a role to play? And how can you articulate that in the face of something like a hospital wing is closing? So why are you doing an art project? You know, and which is a little bit of a simplistic approach to that question, but you know, just to kind of pose that. I might just go in a reverse order this time. Shall go to the other end?
Well, for me, I think the answer to that question is yes. Whether it's sport, whether it's art, I think it does have a place to play. There are some brilliant minds out there, and just because you're pigeonholed into a box, why can't you use your brilliant mind to be involved in stuff? It is all about choices. It is about giving people the opportunities to participate in activities and for them to choose. From our perspective as a sporting organisation, we've extended the range of sports we offer a lot over the last few years. You may be familiar with the sport of boccia. For a while, that was the only sport that really people with disabilities had the choice. Well, it's not even a choice. That was in school. That's what they did. And choosing whether we give people more opportunities to participate in the community, or whether we keep a hospital open or whatever. I mean, healthy minds breeds healthy lifestyles, basically. And by extending the choices of what people can do, surely that's giving people more choice, giving them independence over their own lives, and giving them the opportunity to feel healthier and be more active in their own communities. I'm a professional fundraiser. I talk a lot in my funding bids about being cohesive communities. Why should people with disabilities have a role to play in those cohesive communities, and whether it's art, whether it's sport, we need to work better with communities, I believe, to make the social welfare of people better.
I just think that without art, without opportunity to participate in art, it will just make the whole where we live a much more impoverished place. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, it's so tempting, isn't it, to join in with the rhetoric of scarcity, and I think it's so misleading. And I think one of the things that's interested me over the last few months is with the desperate situation that lots of disabled and deaf people are in financially, with the loss of the Independent Living Fund, with the restrictions on eligibility for allowances and benefits, with the completely arbitrary changes that are being made to access to work. It's arts communities that I'm seeing that are being really active in speaking out against that stuff. And it's arts companies and organisations that I'm seeing that are saying, actually our existence is being threatened here. Literally, our existence is being threatened. And I think that's really significant, the kind of interplay between the whole vocabulary of austerity and scarcity, and the place of the arts and the activity within arts organisations and individuals who are involved in the arts. And of course it's worth fighting for, of course.
Do you think, though, although that's an incredibly powerful movement and action that those companies and individuals are making, that somehow, by the fact that organisations that don't label themselves as disabled-led aren't part of that argument, ultimately weakens the position because of the seen value of that work? I hate to use the word, but somehow is seen as other and worthy, and not actually has legitimacy in the same way as the rest of the arts establishment, as it were. And I certainly feel that that somehow, even at Dance 4, we at that moment we could have said something really powerful about the Independent Living Fund, but we didn't. But actually, without that, we can immediately see the impact of not being able to engage with a range of artists and participants. And actually, I think we've not supported society by not being part of that conversation, which is upsetting. But even if, who's recognising that? And I think this question of value for me, what do we value in and around us, continues to be a major issue and stumbling block for the participation of disabled people in activities, but also for the ability for us to be able to support people into careers. So I think many of us, depending, no matter what our background is, or what our background was, ultimately stumble into careers, don't necessarily have these glorious pathways into that make sense. But it's really frustrating to us that we're spending half our time embattled with institutions and frameworks that limit the possibility and choice for disabled people. I'm waffling now, but there's something about value for me which is really powerful.
I think that's happening part that I agree with. Needing allies is very important. Women didn't get the vote without men voting for it all those years ago. We, disabled people, have never been allies more than we do now. over the last 30 years of my lifetime, we have made progress. It's easier for me to live my life now than it might have been 30 years ago. But in the last 3 years, all that progress has been wiped away. And we're very lucky. I'm doing a job I like, but I'm a tiny minority. For a lot of disabled people, it's incredibly scary times at the moment. That's not to work, that's to survival and independence. But we need to come together, disabled and non-disabled, to be making a bigger fuss than we are. And in times like this, art starts to become political. Art becomes more political in times like this. And that's exciting as an artist.
I think there's also the very kind of obvious point to make about disability and the arts and disability in the sports. Is it worth fighting for? Even if that's not directly relevant to someone today, it might be tomorrow. So it's kind of worth investing in, because it could be what you're involved in tomorrow if you're not involved in it today. It's a kind of a fairly obvious thing, but just in terms of the ageing population, for example, and the increase in incidence of impairment with age, I mean, people who are not wanting to access sport and the arts as disabled people now might be in a month. So there's a very pragmatic reason for keeping it alive as a healthy part of the sector.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to take this chance to open up to the floor. If there's anyone who's got any burning questions or any points that they want to make or anything that they want to sort of feed into the debate, or any individual sort of to the panel as a whole, or as any particular individual. So if there is anyone who would want anything, so.
It's quite loud. Stay on the topic of disability politics, and in particular the art world's response to some of the kind of recent developments in the politics of disability, and also the idea that within contemporary art particularly, things like anti-capitalism, anti-cuts, is quite prevalent and has been touched upon in exhibitions by contemporary artists. But disability hasn't necessarily been done that, treated in the same way as that. And I think there's a kind of misunderstanding within the contemporary art world that disability is something different to essentially what is, anti-capitalism, anti-globalization, because disability and capitalism are completely interconnected. So I wondered whether a lot of organisations, big organisations that have addressed things like globalisation, they have the opportunity to address disability, and maybe that argument needs to be made clearer or in different ways or something like
that. Just quickly, I mean, I think it's a really interesting issue, and I think it touches on something Paul said earlier, and I think if I can kind of broaden out your comment and say that for me it's a confidence issue. So people are just frightened of even having the conversation around disability, and so we get to the things that Paul was talking about around just not knowing how to have the conversation, not knowing about values, and wanting to to bring it down to the whole participatory agenda, which is primarily what we're focusing on this evening. That whole notion of, well, we don't know how to do it, so we'll just kind of ignore it, and I think that's a much wider response. I think people are frightened.
Just on that note, actually, when we were setting up this seminar, I did sort of feel that exactly that, a little bit nervous, because I know that there is some very strong voices in the disability arts sector, and I sort of felt quite sort of reserved about, you know, adding our voice to that sector, and sort of feeling that we did we have a place in that debate. And actually it was a conversation that we sort of kind of had on the stairs, that Michelle said, "Don't be ridiculous, carry on." Not quite like that, but I think that it is, you know, actually learning how to talk about something is one of the first sort of achievements that you can have, and I sort of feel that, you know, that's hopefully what, you know, tonight started, and our relationship with CP Sport has started, and with Jamie as well. So I think this is a positive thing. So I don't know if there's anyone else on the hopefully this is on.
I feel that if we aren't in the world as us, with our view on the world is incomplete.
Can you repeat it, Alex? I feel if we aren't in the world as us, then the world, with our view, then the world is incomplete. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So is there anyone else who observations or comments?
I think it's interesting what you said about fear, and I think that's really true, because I've experienced that kind of being portrayed unintentionally on inclusivity within a non-specialised group, art group, per se. Well, in my case particularly it was theatre, and definitely I kind of really felt that there was a fear of that kind of not knowing, and of what inclusivity could look like from a director who, is just afraid. Which is really, really interesting, and it kind of makes you feel that should disability be, should there be more of an emphasis of disability being included in mainstream than creating more specialised places?
Yeah,
which is
that is something to sort of, it's not about creating slightly ghettoised opportunities, it's about creating pathways so that everyone has sort of equal opportunities to become the practitioner that they would like to be, or to have the opportunities that are, you know, I think we've touched on this a little bit, that are sort of a universal opportunity to participate at something, and then, as you said, you know, it might actually not enjoy it, and it might not be enriching, or it might be the next step. So, yeah, you know, if there's any... It's me actually.
It's really interesting about mainstream. I mean, a lot of people talk about mainstream in the Holy Grail. I don't know what the mainstream is. I don't know if I'm in it or not. Sometimes I'm probably I'm not. I really want to be in it now, but no, the point is, as an artist, it's up to you whether you want to make outside your art, for want of a better word, or you want to go to mainstream. It's completely up to you. It's not one or the other. I I main disability art, and then I go work in mainstream, but I also have opportunities to do whatever I want. I've done work around diversity, obviously, and diversity is obviously seen as a disability. And the only way we can change the way we are is if diversity becomes cut rather than a disability. When I worked with the Arts Council, I was the diversity officer. Now, all diversity landed on my desk because I was meant to make the art more diverse. Clearly, I didn't. but we both releasing the way we look at disability and diversity. It's not about atoms, it's about core values. Yeah, blah blah blah.
You guys speak.
I think there's something also in so people hide also behind fear, and I think that's partly to do with is there a bit of is there fear, or is it just not being able to spot quality? So I think quality is a bit of an issue, or generally across the arts, people just not being able to challenge what they think is good and bad. And I certainly feel that, particularly in dance, that there are very few people who are willing to have honest conversations with dance artists about what is good or not. And whether it's coming from a disabled artist or a non-disabled artist, if it's good, it's great, it's great, and if it's bad, and you need to have that conversation. And I think that's missing somehow in many, many different instances, and often wonder that conversations then and opportunities are missed because the conversation doesn't even want to be, it isn't even begun, and the kind of scratching at the pain, we don't do that because we stick with things which are comfortable and we know will bring us credit. So I think there's something in quality that is prevalent and we hide behind fear.
Could I speak on one of my anecdotes? No, as an actor, I've been an actor 20 years, and I've never had a bad film. I've done a lot of bad plays, I've done a lot of bad acting, and I've always said I don't feel I made it as an actor when I get a bad review. But the reason I don't get bad review is not because I'm not a bad actor, it's because I'm disabled and I'm viewed in a different way to any other actor. And until with good art and bad art, the same kind of routine. We're not going to change where we are. I really want a bad bit, but I don't want it on Sunday. It can wait another month.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Kind of more of an observation on that as well. I'm the director of Harvey Arts Centre in Leicester, and we're running an artist development programme at the moment called In Good Company, and we've just taken on board Pad Theatre, which is a deaf theatre company, and my God, are they really raising the benchmark in terms of the way that we perceive what we do. We had what we thought was a really good event the other weekend in Derby with a signer who did a really good job, but actually not good enough. And there was that kind of honest conversation that was had about what we'd done, and it wasn't quite right, and we needed to get that better.
And it felt like we were moving into a different phase of conversation, and they're also fairly gently at the moment challenging the other organisations that are part of that to just think more inclusively about how they're presenting the work. So it feels like a really exciting moment to actually be taking it to the next level. But I think, you know, sometimes we think we're dealing with inclusion by simply providing a signer at something, and it's not enough. And it's about having those honest conversations, like Paul was saying, that take us all to the next level.
I just wanted to say, hello, 1, 2. My first experience of creativity and community was during the miners' strike, and my goodness, that was an experience of austerity, and the years beyond it were too. And we're in austerity now, and I think we need to agree that actually we're all innately creative, and we're all innately interested in each other as human beings, and I think we all innately want to know each other's story, so why would we block anybody's story out of our creative landscape? It's all valid, it's all exciting, it's all fascinating. So why would we even consider that as an opportunity of, you know, possibly because it's easier, because we don't like to work too hard at things sometimes, and if we can ignore things, let's just ignore it, everybody. No, let's not anymore, because we're talking in this room and there's been lots of talks and lots of debates, and I think, you know, I mean, I was 6 years old during the miners' strike, I'm now 37, and it seems like you keep talking and talking, and let's do, and I think a lot of us are doing, aren't we? So let's share this on YouTube, and if you're watching, let's do something out there as well, because I think we're all innately artists, so let's talk about the art that we do and the value of that, and let's talk about it for everybody.
That actually feels like a better summing up of where we would like to leave this debate than some of the recaps. But I will just very quickly I think the things that I've pulled out of what's been said is that it's about equality of opportunity, so it's not creating separate spaces to allow diversity or disability to have a little bubble. It's actually about a holistic approach to community, and that includes every voice, as was said. And within that, there's taking part in something that then enables choice and enables progress, and whether that's about personal, individual progress of young people, or whether that's progress in terms of career opportunities and life decisions, that progress is what we should all be aspiring for everybody, not just, you know, for our friends and colleagues who are disabled, but actually we all want to enable people to succeed and to shine, and actually putting the mechanisms in place so you can understand the best of that person and what they need to do to get it to the next level. There was also comments about, sort of picking up on what Ben was saying, about actually healthy minds and healthy bodies and cohesive communities, and actually the value of arts and sports is about the sort of glue that holds us all together. And finally, I suppose, there was the fear factor, the fear of people actually saying, I don't know what it is to have cerebral palsy, can you tell me please, so that I can do the right thing for you, so I can support you to be here and understand, and also so you can, you know, support me to get the best out of this relationship or friendship or whatever it is. So it's about not being scared to put your hand up on either side.